In a freezing Indianapolis apartment, little Skylar Gardner huddled for warmth. This was hardly a home. Prosecutors would call it a prison. Meanwhile, her mother Chantel chased rap star dreams and posted polished videos online. On January 25th, 2025, Skylar's pain finally ended. She was just 2 years old. Chantel called 911, claiming she found her daughter cold to the touch under a dresser. She lied. The truth was much darker, much colder, much worse than anyone could imagine. The 911 call crackled through at 6:30 p.m. on January 25th, 2025. Chantel Gardner's voice betrayed no panic or urgency, just calm, measured words as she reported finding her daughter cold to the touch under a dresser. Medics raced towards the apartment 6300 at Timber Point Apartments on Newberry Road in Indianapolis. They were much more worried than Skylar's mother. And even though they'd seen a lot of terrible scenes, nothing could have prepared themselves for what waited inside. This was hell designed as a home. An Arctic chill hung in the air, thermometers later registering between 46 and 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Little Skylar lay there, just 2 years old. The apartment wasn't just neglected. It was a biohazard weapon. Human waste smeared the walls in dark, crusted streaks. Rotting food, weeks old, piled in corners. Garbage covered every surface. Sharp knives lay scattered across the floor.
Inside this apartment building behind me, while the suspect did her best to hide that neglect, she insisted she did not physically harm her kids on purpose.
CBS 4 News cameras captured just glimpses. A urine-soaked mattress, a home transformed into a torture chamber for its smallest inhabitants.
This disgusting bedroom with a feces-covered crib and mattress is where a 2-year-old girl died over the weekend.
And although Chantel said she never physically touched her kids, Skylar's body revealed chapters of suffering her voice never had the chance to speak.
Police claim the entire apartment where the little girl and her young sibling lived was littered in feces, urine, garbage, and rotten food.
Her 4-year-old brother survived somehow, found huddled in this wasteland he couldn't stand without shaking. When medical staff tried approaching his food tray at Riley's Children's Hospital, he erupted in hysterical screams. He ate in huge, desperate clumps that required intervention to prevent choking. His body bore the same marks of neglect, constipation so severe it required medical treatment, malnutrition that had stunted his growth, and his emotional wounds were deeper than any physical injury.
It's so sad on so many levels.
This was their daily reality. This was their normal. From the first moments, Chantel's story crumbled against the evidence. She claimed Skylar had been trapped accidentally under a dresser. Investigators photographed this supposed killer, a lightweight piece of furniture with fabric drawers, partially propped against a chair. It could not have trapped a toddler, could not have caused these injuries, and could not explain hypothermia. The timeline shattered too. Medical science doesn't lie. Rigor mortis told its own story. Skylar had been dead for many hours before her mother bothered to call for help. The evidence pointed to an unbearable truth. Every investigator saw the same grim picture. This wasn't a tragic accident. This wasn't momentary negligence. This was a child systemically abandoned by the one person meant to protect her above all others. This was a murder by the coldest form of neglect. The truth lay bare in that frozen apartment. Chantel Gardner had left her babies to die, one slow day at a time. Who was Chantel Gardner? To her online followers, she was Chantel Boyer, an ambitious rapper with dreams of stardom. On YouTube, Chantel posted rap videos. Confidence and swagger oozed from the screen. Her Facebook page never stopped. Post after post about her music, her career, her community work. She bragged about coaching a girls' basketball team, then wrote something that now makes your skin crawl. I don't trust nobody but my kids, and my second born is a little iffy. These words hit differently after the way Skylar was found. The 33-year-old mom was all over parent groups online, sharing stories, giving advice, posting all about mom life struggles. Everyone thought she was juggling motherhood and music dreams like a pro. They bought the lie. All of it. While shooting videos in clean studios with perfect lighting, her babies were alone, starving, in filth. She confessed it all later. Every night she spent at her boyfriend's place, every day her children spent alone. Sometimes she'd swing by with cold fries. Most times she didn't bother. When detectives asked her why she didn't take care of the house, Chantel said she tried cleaning the walls and maintaining things, but eventually it became too overwhelming. Too overwhelming to clean walls. Not too overwhelming to make music videos, too overwhelming to pick up trash, not too overwhelming to party with friends, too overwhelming to care for the babies who depended on her for life itself, yet somehow never too overwhelming to pursue her own desires. She eventually strayed away from the home altogether due to the smell inside the house. The smell that she created.
None of that's a defense, but it's certainly worth noting that the systems that are in place to prevent this on a humanitarian level in our city failed.
She knew exactly how to work the system. Each rare visit home was calculated for maximum effect. When Grandma might call, Chantel would suddenly appear, coaching her starving children through forced conversations. "Hi, Grandma. Say hi to Grandma Skylar." Her voice was sweet as sugar while her daughter's body showed the marks of neglect. Then she'd vanish again before anyone could ask why Skylar looked so thin or why her brother seemed so afraid. Doctor appointments stopped entirely. Too dangerous, too many professional eyes that might notice the bruises blooming across their small bodies. Chantel confessed to police that she avoided showering in that house because the smell before showering would stick to me right after I got clean. The irony was cruel. She couldn't tolerate for minutes the conditions her babies endured for months. Instead of scrubbing walls or picking up garbage, she simply stayed away longer. She systemically cut off anyone who might have saved these children. Family members who asked uncomfortable questions found themselves blocked. Maintenance workers calling about the broken heating system in the winter when ignored. She constructed an intricate fortress of lies.
Handling things on your own when they get to be out of control and unsafe is not the best idea. So we want to normalize this idea that asking for support is a responsible and good thing to do.
It might seem obvious to us. If you're in need of help, you ask for it, especially when there's friends and relatives literally inviting themselves into your home to help. But Chantel was quite the opposite. She was doing everything in her power to prevent people from seeing her babies or saving their lives. Maybe it was pride. She didn't want to be seen as a bad mom, but there aren't many worse moms out there. Chantel last saw her babies on January 24th at around 4 p.m. She returned home 26 hours later. When finally confronted with the full horror of what she had done, Chantel offered one hollow defense. "I knew I was neglecting them, but I never hit them." As if starvation isn't violence. As if freezing to death while rats are eating you isn't torture. This was who Chantel Gardner really was. A woman who chose rap videos over keeping her babies alive. A woman who let her 2-year-old die alone in the dark because coming home was too smelly. Her online life was perfect. Her real one was murder.
Clearly, the state has a good case to show that she was neglect of a dependent.
Behind Chantel Gardner stood Brian Thomas, her 30-year-old boyfriend. His role in Skylar's death would become a crucial part of the investigation. Initially, Thomas claimed complete ignorance. He told police Chantel had assured him the children were with relatives when she stayed at his place. But his story quickly unraveled under questioning. Text messages and phone records revealed a different narrative. The couple's relationship pattern emerged. Chantel spent up to 5 days a week at his place, rarely bringing her children, at most once a week. The last time Thomas had seen them was at his birthday celebration on December 27th, nearly a month before Skylar's death. During that time, he had noticed the children's condition, but chose not to intervene. He saw the signs of neglect, but remained silent, complicit through his inaction. A warrant was eventually issued for Thomas's arrest in aiding and abetting the crime. In a tragic twist, the children's biological father, living in Ohio with a disability, had granted Chantel full custody. He repeatedly tried to contact his children by phone and video chat, but Chantel systemically blocked his attempts. Just look at how many attempts he made. Don't forget about the video call with the kids, please. How are the kids doing? You did not call me. Merry Christmas. Are the kids up running around yet? Video call me if you can. If only he knew how their house looked during the last few months of Skylar's life. If only he didn't trust his ex when she said the kids were asleep, or she'd left her phone on silent for too long. Then he was blocked altogether. While thinking about how to approach this situation next, his daughter died alone and afraid. Other people chose to ignore the red flags. One of Chantel's neighbors would tell the police, "Yeah, we smelled something horrible coming from the flat for months. We thought about filing a report, but we never did." Another neighbor living in the same building said they'd heard toddler cries coming from that apartment repeatedly, but they just figured they were a rowdy kid. One report was made months before January. Someone had reported a strong stench coming from Skylar's home. The property management staff who received the report did only one thing: issued a formal reminder about maintaining cleanliness. Between a mother who abandoned her responsibilities, a boyfriend who enabled her neglect, and a system that failed to intervene, Skylar never stood a chance.
The 2-year-old baby got found. This is Timber Point Apartments. I had to see for myself. I looked her ass up on my case and got this exact fucking address.
People were outraged after Skylar passed away.
This is the house right here. So I'm like, who all live next door? Cause who live right here? Why y'all ain't say shit? Like, I'm pissed the fuck off on some real shit.
One call to Child Protective Services could have saved Skylar's life, but that call never came. Now people were visiting the House of Horrors, wondering how anyone could live in such a squalid place, let alone raise babies in it.
This bitch, it's not open. It's not open. I wouldn't even want to go in there.
Look at all this trash.
On January 29th, 2025, Chantel Gardner was formally charged with murder and neglect of a dependent, resulting in death. The initial negligence charge was upgraded after prosecutors reviewed the full evidence. The murder charge wasn't based on evidence that Gardner had intentionally killed her daughter, but on the legal principle that she had knowingly placed her children in conditions with a high possibility of death. The evidence supporting the charges was substantial. The apartment was deemed a biohazard by investigators. Layers and layers of neglect accumulated over months. Medical experts documented multiple injuries beyond the hypothermia that claimed Skylar's life. Gardner's elaborate system of deception, maintaining active social media accounts, coordinating her rare visits home to coincide with family calls, deliberately avoiding maintenance requests, showed calculation, not mere negligence. At her first court hearing, bail was set at $100,000. Brian Thomas faced his own legal consequences. Charged with assisting a criminal, he awaited his day in court for his role in hiding the children's situation. Skylar's brother survived, physically. His mind and soul are different stories. Placed in protective custody, this 4-year-old boy carries wounds deeper than any medical chart can capture. His body shows marks of starvation and neglect. His mind bears scars that may never fully heal. Children who survive extreme neglect like this face lifelong battles. Their brains, developing during these critical early years, have been wired for danger rather than security. Trust becomes nearly impossible. Relationships remain frightening puzzles. The system finally stepped in to save him, but it was months too late. Child welfare experts point to cases like this as painful proof that intervention needs to happen at the first signs of trouble, not the last. Help that might have saved Skylar and spared her brother a lifetime of trauma never arrived. For Skylar, there are no more chances. For her brother, every day will be a fight to overcome a beginning no child should ever have experienced. A fight to become whole, despite having been broken before he could even form complete sentences. Skylar's death serves as a grim reminder that what appears on social media often masks a different reality. It challenges us to look deeper, to question more, and to care enough to act when we sense something wrong. For a little girl who loved pink and clutched her only toy, a small stuffed bunny, for comfort, the system failed completely. Her short life was marked by cold, hunger, and neglect. Her death was preventable. Chantel's murder trial won't begin until April 2025, but Skylar's story already stands as a monument to our collective failure. Skylar isn't alone. Her death joins a heartbreaking roster of children we failed to save. In Dayton, Ohio, 10-year-old Takata Collins endured years of torture before dying in December 2019. His father and girlfriend subjected him to beatings, SA, and being locked in an attic. Despite at least 17 reports to child services, despite school officials raising alarms when his father suddenly withdrew him from school, despite Takata himself telling the police, "Dad is going to kill me," the system kept returning him to his abuser. In New York, 7-year-old Nixmary Brown was beaten to death by her stepfather in 2006 while her mother watched. Neighbors heard her screams. Teachers noted her bruises and alarming weight loss. Child Protective Services visited her home 6 times. She weighed just 36 pounds when found dead, tied to a chair, her head submerged in a bathtub. In California, 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez was tortured for months before his 2013 death. His mother and her boyfriend shot at him with BB guns. Relatives called authorities. A security guard witnessed abuse. 4 social workers were eventually charged with criminal negligence for repeatedly closing his case without removing him from the home. The pattern repeats with horrifying consistency. Children show signs of abuse, adults notice, reports are filed, systems activate, and children die anyway. Why? Because abusers isolate their victims, because they craft convincing lies, and perhaps most painfully, because we look away. We hear crying through walls and we turn up our TVs. We see a child who flinches at touch and tell ourselves it's not our business. We notice a parent who never seems to have their children with them and decide it's not our place to ask questions. Then we express shock and outrage when another small body is found. Skylar Gardner never had a voice loud enough to save herself. Her brother couldn't protect her. Their mother silenced both of them through calculated neglect and isolation. What might have happened if one neighbor had knocked on that door? If one maintenance worker had insisted on checking the heating? If one relative had refused to accept Chantel's excuses? We'll never know, because in the moment when action could have mattered, when intervention could have saved a life, everyone chose the comfort of looking away. Skylar's frozen body is our collective failure. Her story is both heartbreak and accusation. It demands we listen more carefully to children's silent pleas. It requires we get involved when something feels wrong. It commands we never again allow a child to suffer and die while we stand safely on the other side of a wall, pretending not to hear. What does it say about our society that we scroll past polished social media posts without seeing the suffering behind them? When a mother chooses rap videos over feeding her babies, are we all complicit in staying silent? How many more tiny bodies must freeze before we find the courage to knock on the door? Share your thoughts below. This conversation isn't easy, but children like Skylar deserve nothing less than our uncomfortable honesty. Subscribe now for more investigations that expose the darkest corners of humanity. Like this video to help others find Skylar's story, because the next child might still be alive, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice.